Pyo Wol is nobody. That is the honest truth of it. He has no family name worth speaking, no sect backing him, no master who chose him from a crowd of promising disciples and said, You are the one. He is a boy who exists in the margins of a world that was never built for him. Quiet. Unremarkable. The kind of person a room forgets the moment he leaves it. And that is exactly why they chose him. That is it. He was selected not for greatness, but for invisibility. The world of the Jianghu operates on a single law. Power is the only language anyone truly speaks. Sects rise and fall like tides, and the great Orthodox clans paint themselves as guardians of righteousness while playing games of blood and politics behind silk screens. Alliances are forged over tea and broken over corpses. Disciples train for decades chasing mastery, not because they love the blade or the fist, but because strength is survival, and weakness is a grave without a marker. This is the world Pyo Wol was born into, not at its center, not even at its edge, but entirely beneath its notice. The Eimei and Wudang sects are two of the great powers, and they are smiling at each other across a table while planning something unforgivable. They need assassins, not warriors, not disciples. Assassins, shaped in darkness, forged in suffering, stripped of everything that makes a person until only the blade remains. So, they do something monstrous. They kidnap children, dozens of them. Boys and girls pulled from the margins, from poverty, from obscurity, chosen precisely because no one will come looking. They are brought to an underground labyrinth, buried so deep beneath the earth that sunlight becomes a memory. And then, the real horror begins. Survival of the fittest does not even begin to describe what happens in those tunnels. The children are given almost nothing. Scraps of food that force them to compete. Darkness that teaches their eyes to forget color. Conflict that teaches their hands to forget mercy. One by one, the weak are consumed by the strong, and the strong are consumed by something worse, by the system itself, which grinds and grinds until only the sharpest fragments remain. Pyo Wol survives, not loudly, not heroically. He survives the way water survives a drought, by going deep, by becoming still, by waiting. But here is the betrayal that cuts beneath the flesh and straight into the marrow. There is a girl. There is always a girl. And that sentence sounds like a cliché until you understand what she means to him. In that lightless, hopeless pit, she is the only warmth he has ever known. She remembers his face when the darkness tries to erase it. She speaks to him like he is a person, not a tool, not a weapon being forged against its will. In a place designed to hollow out everything human, she is the proof that something human remains. He does not say dramatic things to her. He does not make grand declarations. But he stays close. He keeps her alive. That is his love. Functional, quiet, devastatingly sincere. She dies, not in battle, not nobly. She is eliminated by the system, discarded when her usefulness ends, her death as calculated and cold as a budget line being crossed off a ledger. The people who built this labyrinth look at her death and feel nothing, because she was never a person to them. She was a resource, and Pyo Wol watches her go, and something inside him does not break, it crystallizes. There is no grief performance, no screaming at the ceiling, not rage, not despair, not even the shaking hands of a boy who cannot process loss. Just nothing. A silence where a feeling used to be, and beneath that silence, something new and terrifyingly clear. He will survive this. He will survive all of it. He completes the training. He becomes what they made him to become. And then he kills his handlers and walks out of the labyrinth into a world that has never once thought about him. This is where the regression lives, not in time, but in understanding. Pyo Wol does not travel backward through years. What resets is something more fundamental. He was a boy who did not know what he was. Now he knows exactly what he is. He is a weapon that is turned around to look at the hands that forged it. Every lesson they taught him in that pit, every cruelty, every technique learned in darkness. He carries it all forward, but the ownership has transferred. They built a tool for themselves. They built a god for no one. He surfaces into the Jianghu, not reborn with golden memories of a past life, but reborn in the truest sense. Stripped down to the core and rebuilt from something purer and far more dangerous than before. That is it. He is no longer the boy they chose. He is the consequence of choosing him. The power that emerges from Pyo Wol is not loud. That is the first thing to understand about it. The Jianghu love spectacle, warriors who split rivers, masters who command lightning, sects that shake the heavens with their battle cries. Pyo Wol is the opposite of all of that. His power is the absence of spectacle. He has spent years learning how to be invisible, in absolute darkness, how to read bodies by the sound of breath and the vibration of footsteps, how to move without friction, how to close distance and end lives before the other person has finished forming the thought that something is wrong. He has mastered assassination arts that most cultivators would not even recognize as a discipline. He moves through the Jianghu like a rumor. People begin to feel his presence the way you feel a draft from a door that should be closed. By the time they understand what that feeling means, it is over. He is not a sword saint in the classical sense. He does not train in a hall with 100 disciples watching. He does not polish his technique at dawn with incense burning. He is a sword saint of the void, someone whose mastery is so complete, so inward, so absolute, that the blade and the man have become the same thing. The cultivation is not separate from who he is. It is who he is. Now watch how Pyo Wol moves through the world before and after, because the contrast is everything. Before, he was a boy who survived by being overlooked. He ate when others allowed him to eat. He spoke when speaking served his survival. He kept himself small because smallness was armor. He attached himself to warmth because warmth was the only thing that made the darkness survivable. He hoped, quietly and privately, in the way that people who have never been allowed to hope do it, with tremendous care, keeping it hidden, terrified that the world will notice and take that too. After why, he is a man who chooses to be overlooked because invisibility is the most powerful thing in the Jianghu. He does not eat when others allow it. He moves through cities and sects and political webs with a clarity that feels almost supernatural. He attaches himself to nothing that he has not chosen. He does not hope. He calculates. The warmth is gone, not because he is broken, but because he made a choice. To feel warmth is to have something that can be taken. He will not be taken from again. He smiles when the situation calls for a smile. He speaks when speaking serves a purpose. But the interior life, the real life, runs beneath all of it like a river under ice, cold, constant, and completely out of reach. Old Pyo Wol was a margin note. New Pyo Wol is the page itself, and everyone else is writing on him without realizing it. He already knows who ordered the kidnapping. He has traced the threads back through the labyrinth to the silk-gloved hands of the sects who commissioned his suffering. He already knows the political architecture of the Jianghu in this region. Nay, which alliances are load-bearing, which relationships are one betrayal away from collapse, which powerful men have secrets they would burn entire villages to protect. He already knows that moving loudly would accomplish nothing. A direct attack on a great sect is a stone thrown at a fortress wall. It makes noise. It changes nothing. He already knows that the real vulnerabilities are not in the great halls where masters train, but in the quiet rooms where plans are made and the men who made them believe themselves untouchable. He already knows how to enter those rooms. He already knows how to leave them without a trace. He already knows that the greatest weapon against people who trade in secrets is to become a secret yourself, present everywhere, visible nowhere, blamed for nothing, and responsible for everything. He already knows they underestimated him. He is counting on them to keep doing it. So he begins, quietly, methodically, one thread at a time. The Jianghu does not know what is happening to it. Certain men begin to have accidents. Certain alliances begin to develop strange fractures. Information flows to people who should not have it. Letters are intercepted. Meetings are disrupted. The great powers look around at each other, suspicious and confused, and begin pulling at threads that lead nowhere, because the person who pulled the original thread has already moved 3 steps beyond where they are looking. And then comes the confrontation. The moment when the architecture of his plan requires him to stand in front of someone who believed themselves permanently safe. The man across from him has the eyes of someone who has made terrible decisions from behind enough power that the decisions never came back to him personally. He looks at Pyo Wol and sees a young man, sees nobody, sees, perhaps, an instrument he can use, a blade he can redirect. He tries to speak with authority. He references power, connections, the weight of the sect behind him. He is doing the thing powerful men do when something they cannot explain enters their carefully ordered world. He is narrating his own importance, hoping the volume of it will restore the natural order. Pyo Wol listens. He has eyes that contain absolutely zero warmth. Not cruelty. Cruelty is still a form of caring, a form of needing the other person to feel something. Not contempt. Contempt still requires the other person to matter enough to be looked down upon. Zero warmth means something far quieter and far more final. It means this man is already a problem that has been solved. The math has been done. The only remaining step is execution. The man realizes, slowly, and then all at once, that the natural order did not leave the room when Pyo Wol entered it. He brought a different order entirely. One where sect names mean nothing. One where decades of accumulated power mean nothing. One where the only thing that matters is whether you are standing between him and what he came for. That is it. That is the whole truth of Pyo Wol. The Jianghu was built on a single philosophy, that the strong inherit the world and the weak are footnotes. Pyo Wol accepts that philosophy completely. He simply changed the definition of strong. Strength is not volume, not lineage, not the size of the army behind you. Strength is the willingness to become something so disciplined, so precise, so completely free of attachment and illusion that the world cannot hold you in its hand. He was made in a pit designed to destroy him. He walked out carrying the pit with him. And now he moves through a world of powerful men who are only beginning to understand that the thing they cannot see is the only thing they should be afraid of. Not the obvious threat, not the loudest blade, not even the strongest cultivator on the field. Just the shadow that was already there when you arrived. If this hit smash that like button, it tells the algorithm to show this to other Manhwa fans. Subscribe to Plot Vault EN so you don't miss the next recap. And drop the name of the Manhwa I should recap next in the comments.